bottom half of the National Football League. And just overall, this is a scenario where the Lions could perhaps, with a defense that can contest with anyone and an opportunistic offense where Calvin Johnson and the entire football team is getting going. This has been a very heated discussion. I just believe that the Saints will be able to make their way to the playoffs, bump off the Packers, but we'll have to wait and see because, ladies and gentlemen, we're heading to the NFL predictions for week number 12. NFL Tonight rolls on. Nick Rice being the host here. Robert Deiters and Stephen Hughes have had somewhat of a big-time debate here, and we'll also give you up-to-date Thursday night football analysis. NFL Tonight rolls on. A quick 30. We'll be right back for some more NFL discussions. This has been Nick Rice on a presentation of National Sports on Spreaker.com. Welcome back to the NFL Tonight studios on a very crisp and clear Southern California night here. And obviously on Spreaker.com, affiliation with National Sports, we have had somewhat of a big-time opening night discussion about the National Football League. We have had our fair share of concussions, and we've also had our fair share of dilemmas as far as teams making their comebacks. Tampa Bay and New Orleans have made a second-half comeback to remember, and this leads us to perhaps the biggest portion of our night, the schedule, the previews for week number 11 coming up. And obviously, before we get going here, just a quick update. Still 7-0 in the Bills and Dolphins Thursday night battle. And the fans chose the Dolphins over the Bills, and if I'm not mistaken, unanimously, we had the Dolphins winning this game. They're trailing 7-0, but we're just starting the first quarter. We'll give you up-to-date Thursday night football updates as we get going here on NFL Tonight. We'll start off with a big-time matchup between the Falcons and the Cardinals for our NFL predictions segment. We start off with two teams that have significantly different records, and we look statistically same sort of story. As offensively, Falcons, top 10 in the league. Cardinals, the second worst offense in the NFL, including the worst rushing offense in the entire NFL. On a somewhat crisp and clear, what is expected, a day over in Atlanta, we start over with Robert Deiters. Who do you have as the victor in this game set in the Georgia Dome in Atlanta, Georgia?
Well, we kind of point out the obvious. Atlanta Falcons, I mean, the Cardinals' offense have struggled ever since Kevin Kolb and John Skeleton have fought for that position. Their O-line is one of the worst in the league. And the Falcons, well, they're just 8-1. They have one of the greatest offenses. And as you said, they're under 3.0 average per yard, like rushing yards per carry for Arizona. So I give my win to the Atlanta Falcons.
And Steven, will the Falcons win two or lose two in a row at home? Obviously, they face a team that has been on the downward spiral, losing 5 straight in the Arizona Cardinals.
I think that the Falcons will take the win this game. There are a lot of talk about, if the Falcons were going to struggle because of the – okay, sorry about that. There's some noise in the background that I didn't want to listen to. But, I'm going to give it to the Falcons. I think they're going to bounce back from their bad loss in the Superdome in New Orleans, a hard place to win in. But they do lose. I think that they bounce back. The quarterback situation in Arizona is never going to end, it seems like, because Kevin Kolb, it seems like he's going to be out for another game, so they're going to be stuck with John Skelton. And just the fact that the Falcons are really just a much better team than the Cardinals, I can see a blowout in this game, but my pick easily goes to the Falcons.
And obviously that offense has been lethargic all year for Arizona. Let's make it unanimous. 3 straight victors that we have predictions. Atlanta over Arizona. Let's go to our next game.
All right, next game, guys. The Buccaneers versus the Panthers. This is between two teams. Well, the Panthers haven't had the greatest start with a 2-7 record, but the Buccaneers having a winning record, and not with the most elite quarterback, but Josh Freeman leading the team, and Cam Newton hasn't had one of the greatest seasons for the Panthers. If I had to say, I'd probably go with the Buccaneers. But Nick Rice, will start off with you. Who do you think is going to win this game and why?
Well, obviously, Carolina's trying to battle back, trying to get some sort of positive momentum going into what has been a very uptight and very dramatic year for the Carolina Panthers. 2-7 speaks words, and too many words for this team, as I will choose the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in this game. Despite a bad defense that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have, it matches up with a bad offense in Carolina, and I will take this Bucs offense that's put up 40 straight points seemingly in back-to-back-to-back weeks. I got to choose this high-powered offense over a struggling Carolina squad.
Let's go with Steven. Steven, who's going to win this game and why?
I'm going to go with Robert. I'm going to go with the Buccaneers. Like Nick said, there are a lot of problems that Carolina has. Cam Newton really not starting well on the offensive end, really not leading this team. That about one defensive player on this Panthers team was thinking that the Panthers were going to go to the Super Bowl. They started the year very poor. Tampa Bay is coming to this game pretty red hot. They've had some bad games during the season, but I give Tampa Bay the win in this NFC South showdown.
All right, well, let's move on to our next game here.
And our next game is going to be Cleveland and Dallas in Cowboys Stadium. Let's start with Nick Rice. Nick, who do you think is going to win a not really big game between the Browns and the Cowboys?
And obviously, this is a tale of two teams. Statistically, Dallas should blow them out in this game. And looking on paper, it should be a 40 to nothing score because Cleveland has done nothing offensively, and Dallas has done everything that they would like to do, just haven't put up the points. And the specific keys to winning games is the little details. Dallas has not done it, but against a bad team and this front office during this week and the whole football team, this isn't the most important game because it's our upcoming game for this Sunday. This isn't just the next team on the schedule. We have to beat this team to keep in the playoffs. We cannot lose to a pathetic 2-7 Brown squad. I think that's enough to get the W. I'm choosing Dallas in this game.
Robert, what do you think?
All right, I'm going with my upset pick, the Browns. Now, I know what we're going to say. You're going to disagree with me, but I think this team is going to bounce back. I know Brandon Weeden isn't the greatest rookie QB, and out of all the rookie QBs we have, maybe he's one of the worst. But I think Brandon Weeden will bounce back, and I think their running game will come out of nowhere.
And speaking of running games coming right out of nowhere, another team that has really gotten somewhat hot as of late in the running game and the passing game, Detroit. They're the home team against the Green Bay Packers. We switch over to this matchup between two NFC North foes, Packers-Lions. Green Bay is trying to get back in the thick of the division race in the NFC North. Start off with Robert. Who do you have winning this tough NFC North battle?
I guess I would go with that's a really tough one. I'll go with the Packers because Aaron Rodgers is the better QB, even though Matt Stafford's been a really good QB this year as well. I mean, they both have great offenses, and their defenses are. I would have to give more of it to Detroit, but I think the offense will pull it out for the Packers. So I give the W to the Packers.
Steven? And we're Steven, are you there? All right, we have no connection to Stephen Hughes, but we'll obviously hopefully get him back very shortly. In this game, I'm choosing the Green Bay Packers simply because of the high-powered offense. Yeah, I believe that they will be able to make a comeback. And Stephen, will you make it unanimous for Green Bay? Who do you choose winning this game?
I'm going to pick Detroit in this game. I'm not going to make it unanimous for us, but this is a historical game between these two teams. I remember just one Thanksgiving ago, since it's right around the corner, Thanksgiving. I remember the Gom Sue. I think he stepped on an old lineman's arm. I think it's from Green Bay. So a little bit of a revenge maybe in this game by both these teams from the Thanksgiving matchup last season. But I'm going to give this game to Detroit. It's going to be kind of an upset in a way for me. Detroit has really had an offseason after having a very good season last year and getting them to the playoffs, eventually losing to the Saints in the wild card playoff game. So I'm going to give this game to Detroit, mainly because they're at home, and I think that Calvin Johnson is going to really have a great game like he had last week.
You choose that the Lions snap a 2-game winning streak by the Green Bay Packers in this head-to-head matchup. And I believe, Steven, you have the next matchup as far as predictions go. What do you have for us? All right, we're losing connection with.
We have Jacksonville and Houston.
Oh, there we go.
We'll start with Robert.
Oh, actually, it's me. So it's between Jacksonville and Houston. Both teams that Jacksonville's 1-8 and Houston's 8-1. So both different records. Only one win for one team and 8 wins for another team. Let's go to Steve. What are your predictions?
I'm going to go with the easy pick. It's going to be Houston. Jacksonville has had a very hard time having a good quarterback really leading their offense. Also, an injured Maurice Jones-Drew has been really disappointed for this Jacksonville squad. Who's looking to get the number 1 pick in next year's draft. So I think that Jacksonville should be looking about that. And easy game for Houston, especially at home. Nick, what do you think?
Obviously, just real quick, got to go with the Houston Texans. They improved to 9-1 and get yet another win in this head-to-head battle between the Jags and Texans.
All right, guys. So I got the next game. Cincinnati, Kansas City. Not really a highly anticipated game in Kansas City. Let's start with Robert on this one. Robert, who you got in this game?
I got the Bengals. I got Andy Dalton throwing some T's against Kansas City as Matt Castle. No one ever hears of him, or Brady Quinn, but I think when you look at Cincinnati, they're going to have more of the upper hand in this game, as Kansas City's only 1-8 as well. So I give my W to Cincinnati.
And I'm going with the first upset pick, seemingly in the past few games. I'm going with Kansas City in this game. A very tough place to play, Arrowhead Stadium. The Kansas City Chiefs are 1-8 and almost knocked off a very impressive Pittsburgh squad. And obviously, this hometown crowd has been sick of losing games. And this offense might not be as bad as you would expect. And Cincinnati's added struggles defensively. Take out that Giants game, and Cincinnati's in the bottom half of defense. The worst as far as against the pass in the entire NFL. They're in the bottom 5 in that category. I'm choosing Kansas City in this game, and I believe the key to the football game will be what the Bengals lack as well, stopping the run. Jamal Charles might have a breakout game. Going to our next prediction segment, our next battle is between the New York Jets and St. Louis Rams. And real quick, we'll go straight over to Robert Deiters for this matchup. Or actually, no, we'll switch over to Stephen Hughes. A switch up there. The Jets were losers in this last competition against St. Louis. And even though the Rams have a half-game lead over this team, it might be little more than that, as offensively, the Rams have had far more success.
I think that the Jets are really falling apart. And also, I love the way the Rams played against the Niners last week in their tie. A little bit controversial there, in my opinion. I give this game to the Rams because they're at home and because I think that they're going to really start playing well after that tie. I think that they'll gain some confidence out of that because they could have beaten them, but they could have lost out of that. So I think they'll rather get a tie out of one of the better teams in the NFC. And I got the Rams in this game.
And Robert, do you make it unanimous for St. Louis, as I'm going with these high-powered Rams as well?
Yeah, I'm going with the high-powered Rams too. As a good game against the Niners and very close. And it was just that game against the Niners was probably a lot of penalties. And I think the Rams could have won that game if they didn't have so much penalties. I would have given the W to the Rams that week. I don't think the Niners played up to their expectations. And I think the Rams will improve to 4-5-1.
And Robert, you got the next game, and St. Louis, certainly the high-powered team in that matchup. We have another team with a high-powered offense. What do you have?
Let's go to Philadelphia and Washington as you see the Eagles and the Redskins, both 3-6. This will be a good game between the two rookies, Nick Foles and RG3. Let's go to Nick Rice. What are your predictions?
Believe it or not, and Washington certainly has had its fair share of offensive success.